Good morning, everybody. This is Tony Butler with Insurance Agency Marketing Services. I'm one of the life sales directors here, and today's webinar will be in regards to National Guardian Life. We have John Entingh, who will be on the webinar as well. He's one of our top producing agents. He's going to be talking about National Guardian Life's products. So before we get started, a few items I'd like to discuss with you in regards to insurance agency marketing services. First and foremost, we like to make sure that you, the agent, know there are perks that are available for you. We do have our new producers builders, and we've got 5 different levels. We have the 100,000, 250, 500,000, 750, $1 million level. And as you see, there are different things that you can obtain, whether it's mailers, iPad, trips, leads. So if you have any questions in regards to our new producers builders, please don't hesitate to give us a call. I'd be more than happy to speak on this in greater detail. We also have the IAMS Business Builders, and this is a referral program for you, the agent. Meaning if you refer another agent to insurance agency marketing services and they get appointed with any of the carriers that we work with, we will provide you with a one-time $50 bonus for that referral. Once the referral writes a piece of business, there's a one-time $100 bonus, and then any subsequent business that they write, as you see here, there's additional money that you can earn. We've got life target of 15%, index annuity of 20%, single premium life, and MIGAs. So there are additional funds that you can earn for referring agents and those agents producing. So if you have any questions in regards to our business builders, please give us a call. Again, we can go into greater detail on that for you. We also have back office support for you. We like to say we want you to work smarter, not harder. So we do offer back office support. So we're here for you from submission to commissions. So paperless contracting is available for you. We've got top sales expertise coaching, case design assistance. So please keep in mind that we're here to partner with you to help you grow your business. Also, with the current pandemic, a lot of agents are finding that they're not getting in front of their clients. So we have a couple of platforms that are available for you to do electronic applications. One of the platforms is Firelight. And as you see here, the carriers that are available now on our Firelight platform is over to the left, and the ones that we're working to add to Firelight are on the right. The majority of the carriers are annuity carriers, but there are some life carriers in there. If you haven't gotten registered, you can go to our website to get registered. If you need assistance with getting registered with Firelight, just give us a call here at this toll-free number, and I'd be more than happy to walk you through that process. We also have a creative marketing solutions department, and they're there to help you, whether it be turnkey, agency, or digital solutions. So what that means is they're available to help out with professionally written handouts or flyers or newsletters that you're looking to utilize. If you're looking for a logo design or redesigning your logo, they're there for that as well. Or digital solutions. So if you're looking to get into the digital marketing space, they can help you with website designs, digital marketing strategies, things of that nature. So if you have any questions in regards to what you need to do to get assistance with this, give us a call and ask for our creative team. They'd be more than happy to work with you on that. Now, I mentioned the IAMS website. It is a 24/7 website. You've got excellent sales tools available for you life agents. You're able to do term as well as guaranteed universal life quotes on our website. There are forms that are available on the website. And then I mentioned previously that we have 2 platforms to submit electronic applications. The IAMS website would be the second platform to where you can do e-apps through iGo e-app. If you need assistance with navigating through the website, or getting registered on the website, or how do you submit an application on the website, we'd be more than happy to help you with that. Feel free to give us a call. We also have Retirement Analyzer that's available for you. It is free for qualifying agents. There is a 30-day free trial basis that you can utilize. And what the Retirement Analyzer does, it answers questions for your clients such as, can I continue my present standard of living in my retirement years? How would it affect my family if I were to die prematurely? What are the possible solutions if my situation changes? We can walk you through the Retirement Analyzer, the cost of that, what qualifying premium is available for you to get this free. So just give us a call. Any one of our annuity or life sales directors can answer your questions on that. We also have the IAMS Wealth Management team. They are there for you and your clients. I would say your higher net worth clients. They're there to help you increase your revenue, improve client retention, and strengthen your client's relationship. Again, for your higher net worth clients, I would strongly suggest reaching out to Charles Jr. and his team. They can let you know what's available for you. Now, if you're familiar with IAMS, you know that we do a Life and Annuity Academy. Try and do that 3 or 4 times a year. Obviously, with COVID, that has not happened, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen for 2020. However, if you're unfamiliar with our Annuity Academy, Life and Annuity Academy, I should say, it is a 2-day training. It's all expenses paid by IAMS. We talk about different sales ideas and strategies. We have some of our top producers speak on this. From a life insurance perspective, we talk about large life case marketing, business insurance concepts. If you're interested in the Life and Annuity Academy in terms of getting additional information, we're always looking to see what we're going to be doing in 2021. I do have a polling question here that I'm going to pop up. If you could just respond to that, make sure to get some additional information out to you. Let me launch that. And I'll leave this up here for a few seconds. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take that down. All right. So let me go back here. All right, John, you there?
I am. Good morning.
Okay. All right, I'm going to switch this over to you. There you go.
Let me see here. There we go. All right, can you see it?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending the webinar today. I certainly appreciate that. I'd like to start out talking about NGL and just let you know that I am an agent. I am in the field. I'm not working from a home office perspective for National Guardian Life. We've used their program in our business for about 14 years now. So the reason I tell you that is it's nice to have the perspective of an advisor or an agent rather than from the home office, because I'm out in the field. You know, we're having clients come in, we're talking about this on a daily basis, and I'd like to give you some good insight on how maybe you can take this and utilize it into your practice. So a little agenda of what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the opportunity that exists in the marketplace. We'll talk about the trust that we use to hold the asset. We'll talk about the product itself. And then I'll give you some presentation ideas and tools, and we'll talk about the company National Guardian Life and what they bring to the table for you as well. So the opportunity is really large. I didn't know anything at all about National Guardian Life or Funeral Trust, 14 years ago. And a mentor of mine said, "Hey, I'm going to share something with you, and if you'll take it and learn it and implement it into your practice, it can help you pay for all your business expenses every year." And at the time, like I said, I didn't know anything about it, but I love a good opportunity, so I dug right into it. And here we are 14 years later. We've written a ton of business with National Guardian Life, but it's also allowed me to share it with my peers and to allow other advisors who may not know about it be able to take that same opportunity and implement it into their business. One of the things that we know for sure is that we're all in the planning business. Our job is to help clients to understand their issues and their problems, help them consider their options, put a plan together for them, and then show them where to get the money in order to be able to implement the plan. And I'm going to show you exactly how to walk that road with this National Guardian Life product. And when we talk about planning, the one thing that we really try to express to our new clients is that funeral and final expenses aren't any different. The one thing that we know for sure is that everybody is going to pass away at some time. And someone is going to need to determine the services and pay the bill for that funeral. And the question becomes, who's going to do it and when are they going to do it? Now, there's two ways to do it. It can be done by the deceased prior to their death. So they're going to have to do some required planning in order to get that in place, or it can be done by the survivors afterwards. And that's really what happened to me. Just a quick background story on myself. I'm the youngest of 5 children. My dad passed away on January 21st of 2011. The problem with that was my mom and dad divorced when I was 2 years old, so I wasn't super close with my father. We didn't talk about his money and his planning. But what I found myself was sitting in the middle of a funeral director's office answering questions or trying to about my dad. What was his highest rank in the military? What was his mother's maiden name? What was his favorite hymn? Who did he want his pallbearers to be? I didn't have any of this information available. And that's sad on one hand, but on the other hand, what it made me realize is that everything that we had been doing for our clients in order to get them prepared so that their kids didn't have to go through what I was going through, it just solidified everything I'd always believed in. So with National Guardian Life, they give a couple choices. They have the plan and pay for the funeral, which is pre-need. That's where you go to the funeral home and you pay your expenses up front. Or you can pay for the anticipated expenses through final expense. And that's really what we'll be talking about today, is showing you how to have an intellectual conversation with your client to motivate them to go ahead and get prepared for this today while they're alive, while they're clearly thinking, and not leave that burden down to their loved ones. So one of the things we always ask our clients is if they really realize what the cost of a funeral is. And you're going to hear different numbers all across the board. You'll hear people say they think it's $5,000, $10,000, and some of them will tell you they just want to be cremated. But the average cost for a traditional funeral right now is around $14,000. So we express that to them and tell them that, there's a question we want to ask you. If something happened to you yesterday, how would your funeral be paid for today? And then you got to listen to that answer, because it's really going to give you some insight on how you want to direct the conversation moving forward in order to get them to move those assets over into the funeral trust or the estate planning trust, which we'll go into a little bit later here. We know that people think about it. They did a national survey. 72% of the people thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% had not taken the steps to do so. We believe that's because we don't think on a beautiful Monday morning here in Columbus, Ohio, husband wakes up and rolls over and looks at his wife and says, "Hey, honey, let's go down and pick out our caskets today." We know that doesn't happen, and we believe that that's why the 64% don't take the steps to get it done. And the one thing I can tell you for sure is your clients aren't any different than mine. We're all in the retirement market, and everybody is going to pass away at some point. So, with those two things being a known, then our job is to explain to them why they would be in a better position and their family would be in a better position to go ahead and get this done now. The exciting thing is the market's huge. We all know what these numbers look like. But if you're in this market and you're going to be in it for the next 10, 15, or 20 years, you're actually seeing your base of prospects rise basically every day. And so by 2025, there's going to be twice as many seniors as there are today. And that's going to be a huge market, especially when we're talking about the National Guardian Life planning process. And how we like to start this with the client is we know some facts going in. We know that 93% of all Americans have no type of long-term care protection. They've worked their whole life, they've saved their money, they don't want to run out of money, but yet they've done nothing to protect the money. So we will ask them, we'll say, "Hey, do you have any nursing home insurance?" No is usually the answer. We'll explain to them what the national average cost of that is, and then we'll say, "Hey, what do you think your net worth is?" And then once they tell us that number, if they say it's 400,000, we'll say, "Well, you can see within 4 years, if you've got $400,000, that there's a good chance that you're going to have to spend all of your money at a nursing home." The reason we're bringing this to their attention is we want them to understand that once they've spent their money down, that means they're going on government assistance, or another nicer word for it is Medicaid. And we want to show them how to protect assets from being spent at a long-term care facility, and that's exactly what the National Guardian Life products will do for them. So really how it all fits together, we're taking an insurance product and we're blending it with an irrevocable funeral trust. So this is going to allow your clients to put aside some money permanently as funds that they're going to use for their final expenses. And then when we use the trust to hold that money, they've effectively spent that money down in the eyes of Medicaid, and that money would be protected in the event that they would have to go into a nursing home facility. So the trusts themselves give protection from creditors to your clients. The benefits that pay out of the trust are 100% income tax free. The funds are going to be available immediately at death. There's no charge for the trust. I like to point that out because I have a relationship with an elder law attorney down the street from me here, and he does a lot of Medicaid planning, and he does irrevocable trusts for clients. And you have to write him a check for $7,500 to get the party started, and then that cost will go up based on the amount of work that he has to do to protect your assets. Now, that's good for some people who just want to totally give up ownership to everything and have it all protected, but the majority of people are not going to be like that, but they are interested in protecting as much as they can. As you know, with humans, they just don't want to pay for it. So the trusts are free. Everyone's going to qualify for the trust assignment, and then those death proceeds will be used to pay the funeral expenses. No probate, no delays, and the funds are totally portable. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you paid for your funeral here in Columbus, Ohio at Schettinger Funeral Home, and you decided later on in life you were going to relocate down to Florida, well, you can have a problem when you pass away if you decide you now want to be laid to rest in Florida and you've prepaid for a funeral here in Ohio. With these funds, we're not naming a funeral home. This is held by the insurance company. If that client moves to Florida and wants to use XYZ insurance company, there is absolutely no problem with them doing that. So how do the trusts compare against traditional savings instruments? We're looking for yeses across the bottom of this chart. And if you look, you'll see that the irrevocable funeral trust is going to give us a yes in all the columns that are going to be important to us when we're talking about money we're going to be using to pay for final expenses. So to put it in some clarity for you, I'll walk you through how the trust works. I'm going to just use a typical client of ours in Ohio. We can put up to $15,000 into an irrevocable funeral trust. So I would go out, I would meet with the client, we would determine the need, we'd figure out where we're going to get the money from, and we're basically going to buy a life insurance policy from National Guardian Life. Now, it's different from a single premium life insurance policy that you may be accustomed to. If we give them $15,000 for the funeral trust, we may start out with $15,500 as a death benefit. What's going to happen at that point is 45 days after the policy's been issued, the company's going to move it into the irrevocable funeral trust. There, it is going to sit and earn interest on the money, and that money is going to be protected and growing tax-free until the time of need by the client. Once the client passes away, and I just had a client whose mom passed away, and I'm in the middle of their stuff with them. Basically what happened is he called me, he said, hey, mom passed away. I said, okay, give me the name of the funeral provider. I called the funeral provider. I got their contact number. I got their fax number. I called National Guardian Life. I gave them the fax number and the contact number. And then they deal directly with the funeral home. And within 48 hours, the funeral home has the money for the services, which is very important because a funeral home will not do anything without funds. So then what would happen is, let's say we had $15,000 in death benefit, but it was only $14,000 for the funeral. The excess funds have to be paid back to the estate of the insured, because remember, once we put them into that irrevocable funeral trust, we protected it from any type of a Medicaid spend down. And so now we have to pay the excess money back to the estate of the insured. So there's two different types of trust with National Guardian Life. The first one is the funeral expense trust. I'll put up a chart here in a minute because I see we have people from all over the country on the call, and I'll show you what your state looks like. But in Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 per person into the irrevocable funeral trust. Now, what that's going to do, again, it's going to give them that ability to qualify for Medicaid and qualify immediately if they're trying to spend down their assets. We can make sure that this asset's protected day one. And then the trust will pay again for the funeral cost with any excess going to the estate of the insured. They also have the NGL Estate Planning Trust. This would be for a client, if I were to say to this particular client, hey, they said to me, hey, we already prepaid our funeral at the funeral home. Well, that's great, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Do you have any money in savings that you know you're not going to need during your lifetime that you are passing on to a beneficiary that you would like to get protected from a nursing home spend down? If they say yes, then I'm going to guide them towards the estate planning trust. This is going to give them the ability to exclude the asset, but it is going to have a 5-year look back period on it. Again, if they've already paid the funeral, we don't have to worry about using any of these funds to pay funeral expenses, and all of the funds will pay to the beneficiary instead of the insured's estate. Now, I will get questions from advisors when I speak at the IAMS academies. When do I use which trust? Well, the funeral expense trust is great for crisis planning. In other words, if the attorney called me today and said, hey, John, I've got a married couple in here. We're going to do a trust to protect all their assets, but one of them is going to be going into the nursing home sooner rather than later, or we're going to be applying for Medicaid, I can get that money protected immediately. I could put $15,000 on each of them and get $30,000 right off the books for them. But sometimes what will happen is we'll have clients who are just coming to one of our seminars or our in-house appointment consultations, and they just want to know that their funeral expenses are taken care of. They're in perfect health. They just want to put the $15,000 away, know it's there to take care of their final expenses, and let the money grow tax-free. So the other one would be the estate planning trust. This is where Medicaid's a non-issue. So you got a healthy couple. They're not even talking about, nursing home spend down from now 5 years or maybe never. But what they do want to do is, in the event that they would go into a nursing home, they want to easily transfer a limited amount of wealth to their children or their church. Then we will recommend the estate planning trust to them and explain to them that yes, it has a 5-year look back period, but 5 years goes pretty quick. I mean, we're in 2020 already, and 2015 seems like yesterday. So that clock, once you get it ticking, and that's the real opportunity, because you can pick up some nice cases when you can pick up 100,000 per spouse and protect the money for them. So we'll talk a little bit about the product that we use to fund the trust. It's called the NGL AssetGuard. It's just a fixed rate life product that we're going to put into the funeral trust. We're going to give them that interest rate that's in the trust to grow the money tax free. And then again, it'll pay out when they pass away. Now, for today's conversation, I'm only going to talk about the single pay. So I'm going to show you what your state limits look like depending on where you live. So if you look at Ohio, you can see in the funeral trust that we can put $15,000 in it. If you look at Pennsylvania, they actually base it on the city that you live in, believe it or not. And then some of them will not allow you to have a funeral trust. Massachusetts, Michigan, Florida. But what I say in that circumstance is, if you live in one of those states other than Massachusetts that will still allow you to do the estate planning trust, then put 15,000 away for them towards their funeral in the estate planning trust. The only difference is they're going to have a 5-year look back period, where in Ohio we can use the funeral trust and we can get the money excluded day one. But again, if I lived in, we'll use Nebraska, where IAMS is located, and I had a client that was interested, I would tell them, hey, we're going to put 4,916 into the funeral trust, protect it day one, and then we're going to take the other $10,084 and we're going to put that into the estate planning trust and get that 5-year look back ticking for you. So there's many ways to do it, even if your state doesn't allow the funeral trust or they have a limit to the amount that you can put in per spouse. You can see here the irrevocable trust will pay for just about everything. Anything you could need for a funeral, down to the death certificate or the transfer of the deceased, it's all going to be able to be paid for out of this program. So again, I told you we would just talk about the single pay. It's all we use here at Entingh Financial Services. They do have a 3, 5, 7, and 10-year pay that you can use. But for today, we're just going to talk about the single pay. You can do anywhere from $500 to $100,000 of face value. That growth rate needs to be updated because of the interest rate environment we're in. The funeral trust is paying 0.5% right now, and the estate planning trust is paying 1%. Don't get caught up in that, and don't let your client get caught up in that. This really is not about how big we can get this money. This is about protecting the money from a nursing home. So keep that in mind when you're having that conversation with your client. There is only one health question on the application, and even if they can't answer the health question, they are still going to qualify for the program. You can write it from 0 to 99 years old on a single pay. And again, on the health question, if they answer no, they're going to get a standard issue. If they answer yes, they're going to get a guaranteed issue. But one thing I'm going to assure you is you're going to get it issued, and you're not going to be wasting your time writing an application for something that you're not going to get compensated for. So the single pays are all going to be immediate full death benefit. Again, we like that for our client because we don't have a crystal ball and we can't tell them when they're going to pass away. So even if we did one last month, again, we know the client's going to get the full benefit if they pass away this month. And it couldn't be easier to do. If you don't like paperwork, you are going to love doing business with National Guardian Life. I like to go back and tell this story because it actually it comes into play a couple times during my talk with you. But you know, I wrote my first annuity back in 1993, and I wrote it on a guy who owned a dry cleaner in Marion, Ohio. And when I went in to meet with him, it was a $25,000 annuity. The paperwork was 3 pages, and the last page was his receipt. Now you compare that to today when you go out to write an annuity, and sometimes it can be 30 or 40 pages, or a life application or a long-term care application. It's a lot of paperwork. And so the nice thing about this is 2 pieces of paper and your state replacement form, and you've got the application done. You can write these applications, and I'm being literal here, in 15 minutes. You will have the application done. So I'll walk you through what that looks like to show you the simplicity of it. There's what the first page of the application looks like, their basic information, and then you get down there to the statement of health. And you can see there, if they answer no, again, they're a standard issue. Even if they answer yes to any of those questions, they are still going to get the policy issued. The difference will be a small amount of face amount and obviously in your commission structure. This is the bottom of it. You're just going to have them sign off on it. You're going to sign off on it, put your agent code so we can get you paid. This is the receipt for them. If you pick up a cash with app, you can leave this with them. And then you're going to want to make sure that you have the right document, whether you're doing the funeral expense trust or you're going to do the estate planning trust. These are their disclosure forms, and there is one for each one of them. So if you're doing a client who, you know, you're in one of the states where you can only write 5,000 into the estate plan or the funeral trust, and then you want to do 10,000 into the estate planning trust, you can have them just write one check to the company. They will sign 2 different disclosure forms, and then you just put a little cover letter with it telling the company that, you know, one check, but you're doing a certain amount into each plan. Then at the bottom, you're going to have it sign it. Now, I told you at the very beginning of this conversation that 45 days after issue, they will move the money into the trust. Well, sometimes with the attorney down the street, he may call me today and say, hey, I'm trying to get people qualified on 10-1 for Medicaid. Can you come down and write me a couple of the National Guardian Life policies on them? I can, and then I can have that particular client sign off that they want to waive the 45 days and they want that policy into that funeral trust as soon as it's issued because they're trying to get qualified for the Medicaid process. So NGL, due to COVID-19, does have an NGL voice signature option now. Your client can sign the application over the phone. It's a simple 3-step process to do the application. You call the number with your client, you enter your NGL code followed by the pound sign. Then you put your client's phone number in followed by the pound sign. After a brief recorded message to sign the application, your client's going to say, I agree, followed by their name. You're going to write down the confirmation number on the top of the application, and then you're going to be ready to go to step 3, place your code on the signature line, enter that confirmation number that they provided you, take the application, premium withdrawal authorization if you're doing a payment plan, or a single pay and they're having it come directly out of their checking account, any of your other required forms like your state replacement form, and then just fax the completed paperwork to National Guardian Life. So they have made it easy as well to be able to call your existing book of clients, have the conversation, and actually do the application over the phone for them. If they do want the premium to come out of their checking account It'll be withdrawn the day the application is processed. They can cancel the application by getting a hold of NGL. They'll mail the policies out directly to the client 10 days after issue. And then again, if you have replacement paperwork, you need to put that in there. Once you're licensed with National Guardian Life, and I'm going to get to that here in a few minutes, they've got a great website that has all this information on there for you, and a great team that will answer your questions. And they're not one you're going to sit on hold with. If you call them, you're going to get them immediately. So, all this is great and it's a great product, but you got to be able to present it to your client and articulate it to them to motivate them through the process. So when I'm speaking at the agent academies, a lot of agents will say to me, well, do you have a lead program? Well, we don't. We've tried some different mailers and stuff. I spent the money out of my pocket, and it just did not yield the results you would expect for putting money out on a mailer. So what we found to work best is we're going to present it to the clients, and I would recommend that you would start with an annual review with any of your current clients. And here's why I say that. If you go out to do an annual review with a married couple, and if it were me and I walked in, I would say to them, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I need to ask you a question before we get started with your annual review. Would you agree that all the recommendations that I've made to you in the past have worked out just the way that I told you they would? Well, your clients are going to tell you yes. Then you're going to say to them, well, I have an area of concern that I know we haven't addressed, and what I'd like to do is address that area of concern with you right now. And then you can start talking to them with a simple question. The first question is going to be, have you prepaid your funeral? Well, if they tell you they haven't, that opens up that discussion for you, and you can walk right in to start telling them or discussing with them the benefits of funeral trust funding. So you're going to tell them it's protected from Medicaid spend down. It gives you the ability to take the burden off of your beneficiaries from having to make decisions like I had to make. It can be used with any funeral home. When you go prepay at a funeral home, you're taking some chances when you do that. Does the funeral home go out of business? Does the owner sell the funeral home? We see a lot of consolidations right now of the funeral home business. Is it left to the next generation and they run it into the ground? You can also, wherever you live, you can Google prepaid funeral plans that were absconded by the funeral director, and you're going to be able to see that there's a lot of information out there and problems that you're just simply not going to have when you use the irrevocable funeral trust, because it's being held by the insurance company. And then big part of the business that we see come in is through 1035 exchanges of existing life insurance. And here's why I say that. The majority of your clients don't understand that if they own a life insurance policy that has a $12,000 death benefit, as an example, and $11,000 of cash value, they don't understand when they die, they don't get both of those numbers. They get whatever's bigger. So if you can explain to them that, hey, you have $11,000 in cash value, but if you die, you just get $12,000, you really only have $1,000 of insurance, because the other $11,000 is what? It's your money. It's in your cash value. So doesn't it make more sense, instead of leaving that open to the nursing home being able to attach your cash value, let's 1035 exchange it into the funeral trust and get that cash value protected so that it's always there for your final expenses, which is exactly the reason that you bought it for. So we do see a lot of that come in through the 1035 exchange. And then again, you're going to give that client the peace of mind knowing they've planned ahead and that the funds are protected. So where do you find the money? Here's the beautiful thing about this plan. If you think about it, and this is what we say to our clients that we're speaking to this about, we will say to them, after we've explained the product, we'll say, you know what, Mrs. Jones, if you really think about it, we're not even buying anything today. All we're doing is we're moving money from one of these instruments over here on the left and we're moving it into this instrument on the right to give you the protection that you're looking for from a nursing home for a limited amount of money. That's a nicer story for them because they want to know they're protecting their money, and now they don't even feel like they're buying anything. They're just repositioning an asset for protection. So again, we pick up money from every one of these you see on here. I picked up money from every one of them. So I know it can be done. We do it on a daily basis, and hopefully you're starting to see that, you know, your clients have that money. It's not new money, so let's figure out how we get them to act and move it into the plan. So the marketing brochures have changed with National Guardian Life. The ones that are on the right of the and left of the Understanding Medicaid, those are the two basic brochures. They have new ones. They're just as good. They just look a little different. But why I like them is that they're written in layman's terms. And I like to share a story of a client that I had that had about $80,000 in cash value and a couple life insurance policies, and their death benefit was not a lot greater than the cash value. And so I went in, I walked them through the presentation, and when I was done with it, I looked at them and I said, don't you think that this makes sense? And they said, yeah, we do think it makes sense, but you know one thing about us, John, is we're not going to make the decision today. We need to sleep on it. And I said to them, well, I'm fine with that. And you know one thing about me, that I believe the best decisions are made while it's fresh on your mind. So I'm going to call you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I want you to read the brochure, think about what we talked about, and I just want to get an answer one way or the other. True story, the next morning at 9 o'clock, my phone rang in the office. It was them. They said, hey, we slept on it. We got up and read the brochure this morning. Let's set the appointment and get this done. So the brochures do work. You can have your name and company phone number and address put on the back of them if you want to use them as leave behind pieces as well. All right, let's figure out why the computer's not moving here. Give me just a second. There we go. So this is a planning guide that is also offered by National Guardian Life. And I'm going to tell you why this is important. You remember my story about my dad. I was sitting in a funeral director's office. I had no idea of anything about his favorite, you know, his highest rank of service, his favorite flower. I didn't even know my grandmother's maiden name. So with this document, what we do and what I was taught to do is anytime you engage somebody in a sales process, you should always leave them a task because it keeps them engaged while you're trying to get the policy taken care of. So what we do is we leave this with our clients and we tell them, hey, if you'll take the time to fill this out while we're gone, when we come back, we're going to put your policy with this. And if I had never met you before, and I could pick up your policy and this document right here, I could go have your funeral taken care of because everything that funeral director is going to ask of the people who are handling things is all listed out in this document right here. Now, I didn't get to do this for my father, but my mom right now is very ill, and I do have this done for my mother, and I know that when that time comes, and the Lord calls her home, that I at least have all my ducks in a row and I'm not going to go through what I went through with my dad. So it's a pretty powerful document. They're offered free through National Guardian Life. And you know, I'm going to speak about National Guardian Life, and one of the things I like to talk about with them is they're a very well structured financial company. But the other thing is, I've been doing this business since 1987 is when I got in the insurance business. And this is the only company I believe in my entire career that I can tell you that I've never had one issue with. Not from getting my policies issued, not from getting paid, not from getting the clients paid once they passed away. They've been an absolute joy and professional organization to work with. And I think that that means a lot when you're working with your clients to have a company you can depend on supporting you. So once you get licensed through Insurance Agency Marketing Services with National Guardian Life, you'll be able to get on their website, and you can see here that you can calculate premiums, you can order supplies, you can look up your policies. They have training videos, they have PowerPoint presentations that you could download to be able to walk your client through, like I did with you, exactly how the product works. You can go on and look at your commissions. Speaking of commissions, Insurance Agency Marketing Services has a slogan that they will walk everything through from submission to commission. I will assure you, if I send a piece of business to National Guardian Life, I will use an example. We overnighted an application last Wednesday to National Guardian Life. The commissions were in our account this morning. So again, they will get it, they will process it, and they will get you paid. Why sell the product? I showed you the stats. Your clients need it. They're thinking about it. They just need someone to motivate them to get it done. It's a great income opportunity. The trusts are free. The funds are portable, so they can be used at any funeral home provider in the United States. It's a great company to do business with, very well capitalized. It's going to give your clients that peace of mind. And then again, if you hate paperwork, this is the product to be using, because you don't have a lot of paperwork to do. And the reality is it's becoming more popular, and if you don't do it, there's a chance somebody else will. They'll talk to your client about it and they'll get it done without you. So compensation, I just like to put this illustration up there. If you just had 2 couples each month that you were doing reviews on, or however you're doing your marketing, you could motivate them to do this, and they were only putting $10,000 each into the plan, that would be about $40,000 of commission to your bottom line. And again, you can still take a couple months off during the year. Here is what the commission structure looks like. You can see up here, I'm just going to use this right here. If you look at the age 66 to 70 in the graph in the upper left-hand corner, you can see that the standard issue is 11% commission. So if you went out and you fully funded one, $15,000 on each spouse, you can see that that's $3,300 in revenue to the company, and you really weren't even selling anything. You're just repositioning their money for protection. So again, once you're licensed, we'll send you these commission schedules out. NGL does have a great sales conference. I've been on them. They treat you like a king or a queen. And one of the things I will say about sales conferences, and I was taught this early on in my career, and it's probably why we have a successful business like we have, is anytime I would make sales conferences, I would always go find the top producers. You know who they are. They list them. They talk about them. And I would go ask them what they were doing. And I would sit down, and these people are willing to spend time with you and share what works for them. So even whatever sales conference you make, always find those top producers, pick their brain, and then take some of that and implement it into your business. It will help you, and I've proven that over time. So some of the biggest challenges, again, getting comfortable with the concept. When I sold my first annuity in 1993, it was a $25,000 annuity. I'd never seen a $25,000 check, and I certainly couldn't believe somebody was going to let me walk out of their business with it. But now today, if a client slides a $500,000 check across the table to us, we don't even think twice about it. Again, it's just because we know what we're doing now. We've been doing it and doing it and doing it. So again, learning how to present, we're going to stress the benefits of pre-planning, and then keeping it on the top of the mind. Every client, every day, it's a real simple question. Have you prepaid your funeral? If they tell you no, you're going to share that with them. If they tell you, yeah, we've already taken care of that, do you have any other money that you'd like to have protected from a nursing home and know that it's going to the people that you want it to go to? And then that'll lead you towards the estate planning trust. So one of the things, once you're licensed with National Guardian Life through Insurance Agency Marketing Services, we'll provide you with the template for this guide for beneficiaries. I came up with this guide about 8 years ago now, And the reason that I came up with it is we had a big client and her daughter called us and she said, "Hey, mom passed away." And we said, "Man, we're sorry to hear that." And we said, "Hey, get through everything you need to do, and then we're going to sit down together because your mom has a $500,000 of annuities with us." Well, the daughter said to me, "John, you're a nice guy, but don't worry with it. I've already talked to the people at the bank, and they're going to handle everything for me. And they said they're not even going to charge me a fee." And so at that time, I was kind of upset because I felt like I didn't do enough in my business to make sure that we didn't lose that money when someone passed away. So what we did is we created this guide for beneficiaries. We went out, we collected new data from the client, and then our successes were over a 6-month period. We picked up an additional 1.5 million in annuity premium, 200,000 in single premium life, and about 150,000 with National Guardian Life. And the reason for that is your clients don't tell you everything. You may think they do, and they can be your best client, but believe it or not, people don't tell you everything about what they have, and we proved it. So when you look at the guide for beneficiaries, you'll be able to put your own information on here, obviously, but we wanted to get this in the house and let the clients know that, hey, if something happens to you, I don't want your daughter calling the bank. You need to let them know they're to call Entingh Financial Services. Now, we get a couple calls a month now, and this, I will just tell you, and this has happened with us over the last 45 days with this beneficiary guide. We're currently working on a case with a client. The daughter's a sole beneficiary. She inherited $1 million of cash. And then we have another client here locally that's getting about 300,000 that we're in the middle of doing his NGL for his mom and getting that settled up. And then we'll start working with them. And the reason I say that's important is they called us because of the guide. They picked the guide up. They remembered their parents telling them that, hey, if anything happens, you need to call John and Wendell. Wendell is my associate that works here with me. And so we put this together. We put this nice letter in there. And then the whole book, I'm not showing you every page of it, but it has everything in there from what you need to collect, who you need to talk to, letters that need to go out to a pension company, to credit card companies, anything they would need to do to start getting the affairs in order of the deceased. It has all of that information in there for them. We also do a financial organizer when we deliver it to them. This is what the financial organizer looks like. So we're basically saying to them, hey, we're updating all of your information. And if you remember what I said earlier about that guide that they filled out with National Guardian Life, and I would tell the client once I gave them the policy and the guide that if I'd never met them, I could go take care of their funeral. It's the same concept with this. And what we tell our clients is, hey, if we're open and honest about every single thing in this organizer we're going to do for you, and I had never met you before, I could walk in, pick up this organizer along with the guide to the beneficiary, and I could start settling your estate without ever have met you. So they really open up and they start sharing all of this information, and we're getting pretty detailed with them. And you can see question 8 over there says, have you prepaid for your funeral, yes or no? If they say no, we're not going to launch into a sales pitch, but we're certainly going to circle the wagons. If they say yes, again, we're going to say to them, well, that's great, you've gotten that taken care of. Is there any of this money we've talked about that you know you don't think you're going to need during your lifetime, and you want to make sure it goes to a beneficiary and not the nursing home? And then that opens up the conversation for the estate planning trust. Again, we're just going to complete this with them, update all their financial information. It's got a little notes page in the back. And then once we get that data, we'll figure out if there's an opportunity for us to help them improve their position. As a matter of fact, it's one of the questions that we ask them during the process. We'll say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, as we go through this financial organizer, if we see anything in there that we think can benefit you and your family, would you like us to tell you about that? Well, of course they want you to tell them about it. So it opens up the opportunity for us to go back in and do a presentation on something that we might be able to improve their position. That being said, that's all I have for you here. Tony, if we have any questions, I'll certainly be able to stick around and answer them.
Okay, actually we do. Let me switch this back to me. Now you can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So it looks like, what are the difference between plans A through G is one of the questions that I got.
That's a great question. That's actually, no one's asked that, but it's a fantastic question. So what happened is, back when interest rates were good, and we'll get there again one day, but with National Guardian Life, you were able to pick an interest rate to give your client. You could give them anywhere from 0.25% all the way up to 2.5%. And so what we did at Entingh Financial back then is we just decided to give everybody 2%. And that's what those different boxes are on there for. Now, because of interest rate environment, and you can only get 0.5% on the funeral trust or 1% on the estate planning trust, you don't even have to mark anything on there. They'll know based on the policy that you're selling them.
Okay. Looks like that was the only one.
Okay.
So I just have a couple of questions before we end today's webinar. Hang on just a second. So if you'd like to get additional information in regards to National Guardian Life, I do have a polling question I'm gonna launch. If you could respond to that, I'll make sure to get that information out to you. And I'm gonna leave this up here for a little bit. Looks like we got quite a few people. John is looking to get more info, so that's always good.
Yes, always good.
Always good. Okay, I will go ahead and close that out. And then the last one, if you're not currently appointed with National Guardian Life and you would like to get appointed, do you have a polling question for that as well? Please go ahead and respond to that and make sure it gets you taken care of. And we got a good response there too, John. So it's been a good day so far.
Always a good day.
Yeah. All right, now I'm going to close that down. All right, in closing, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to give me or Jess Riley, who is the other life sales director, call 800-255-5055. I'm in the Omaha office. Jess is in the Topeka office. Or you can send us an email. My email address is tony@iamsinc.com. And Jess, I know it looks like Jesse, but it's Jess, is Jess at iamsinc.com. So John, I want to thank you for being here to help with the webinar. Always
Well,
appreciate
that, Tony. I always appreciate an opportunity to share my story.
And for all the agents that attended, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday morning to sit in our webinar. Again, I'll follow up with those of you that want additional information and those of you that are wanting to get appointed with National Guardian Life. For those of you that have or may have additional questions, again, feel free to give us a call or shoot me an email. I hope everybody has a great day and an outstanding week, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.